Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Welcome back to the East Riding of Yorkshire, everybody. The wind is quite strong just standing here, so I'm doing my best to make sure that the camera doesn't fall over. Right, okay, we are in a very, very small place that's got a very big landmark, which unfortunately I won't be able to get access to. I emailed them a few days ago and they said they have an event going on at said landmark today, so I'm unable to get access to the hall. But I can show you the very small village of Rise. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to one of the smallest villages in the East Riding. This is Rise, which is spread out over a considerable area to the north of its biggest landmark, the huge Rise Hall. As a village, it's not got a great deal, but it has a strong link to education, owing to the fact that it's had several schools, and Rise Hall itself used to be a school. It's situated approximately 7 miles east of Beverley and 5 miles southwest of Hornsea, to the east of the B1243 road to neighbouring Sigglesthorne. Rise is first mentioned in the Domesday Book, where it appears as Risun. This is the plural of the Old English word hris, which means brushwood. Rise is in fact two separate settlements, even though you would never likely guess it. That's thanks to the former local landowners, the Bethells, who once again make an appearance in this part of the county. They sure loved this area, didn't they? Richard Bethell lived in Rise Hall, and even though I wasn't allowed access to the hall to film it, today's special section will definitely cover it. It'll be familiar to many of you if you've ever watched anything for any length of time on Channel 4. It was owned by Sarah Beeny for almost 2 decades and was the subject of a TV series, Beeny's Restoration Nightmare. No longer owned by her and her husband, it's now used as a wedding venue, amongst other things. So this is Rise, a tiny place with a big history. Let's go. Rise might be small, but it still features a school. We begin this really short walk at the Gemini Preparatory School on the village's main street. Rise has had a few schools in the past. Even these houses are education related because they're called old school cottages. The majority of the property in the village is of one uniform style, owing to the fact that this is an estate village. These houses, though, kind of buck that trend somewhat. Once past those, the road turns left sharply as you enter Rise Estate Yard, which is effectively a farmyard. Rise is actually 2 separate settlements. Now this took a little bit of understanding, but in as basic a form as I can put it, it's all to do with the grounds at Rise Hall. Some of the village was demolished in order to extend the grounds and woodland around the hall, and it was then rebuilt in a new location known as New Rise. That's why this village is so spread out. So just in case you were in any doubt as to how small this place is, I'm going to walk back to the car, basically from where I've walked to, and you'll see that I haven't really missed a lot here. Bear in mind that there are some outlying sort of farms and properties which aren't in this main cluster. This is what I define as the main Rise village. So walking from the farmyard, we'll head back towards the preparatory school. There you go, this is what you've just seen here, the old joiner's shop. And there's the farmyard. Okay, and if we keep going, we'll eventually come to the entrance to the estate yard, which is literally just a few paces up here. That's Home Farm on the left, by the way. And there's that row of houses that we saw a second ago too, with the preparatory school literally just to the right. So Rise is not one of the biggest villages I've ever covered by any stretch of the imagination. It's easily one of the smallest actually, but it does obviously have a few bits and bobs. It's always worth mentioning them. There you go, there's the preparatory school over there, which my car is parked outside. So you can see it took me all of about 5 minutes to walk from one end of Rise to the other. And like I said, there are some other outlying areas too, with some other houses and farms and things which are not in this main cluster. But yeah, that is Rise, and there's the schoolhouse cottage again. So the main landmark here is Rice Hall. Now you see those trees in the distance? Rice Hall is behind those. But like I said at the top, I can't get access to Rice Hall today because there's an event going on. What I can do though is give you a special section about it and tell you a bit about its history and what it's used for now. So yeah, here that comes right about now. Like Sigglesthorne Hall, Rice Hall is another grand mansion that was once owned by the Bethells. This one was built for Richard Bethell between 1815 and 1820. It features a crazy 97 bedrooms, yes really, and it has 149 windows. That's quite the task if you're the local window cleaner, right? Between 1946 and 1989, Rice Hall was a school. It was a fee-paying convent school for girls. It was then left empty for a decade before a famous TV personality swooped in to restore it. Who better than Sarah Beeny? You might well know her from the Channel 4 restoration programme Beeny's Restoration Nightmare. Beeny, her husband Graham and their 5 sons adored Rice Hall and its 30 acres of grounds, despite the fact it needed a little bit more than just a lick of paint. They kept it for 18 years, eventually selling it in 2019 to new owners Daniel and Helen Gill, who spent a decade of acting as event organisers here. The Gills run a company called Dine Events, and Rice Hall was seen by them as an exciting addition to their portfolio of leased venues, which include the Mansion in Roundhay Park in Leeds, Sefton Park in Liverpool, and Howsham Hall near York. Rice Hall is now used as a venue for events, but particularly for weddings. The hall has a number of entrances. I'm going to show you now using the car where some of them are. Here's the first one, which is directly opposite the end of the main village street. This one's generally speaking for deliveries. You'll note that some of these entrances have lodges or gatehouses, which all form part of the Rise estate. It commanded quite the collection of buildings, all of which had been erected by 1840. By using the road towards Skirlaw, we've now arrived at Rice Hall's main entrance, gated off of course, owing to that event I was talking about. I really wish I'd come on a different day. And there's also a third entrance as well. Now between this second entrance and that third one, there's the church here in Rice. So I can show you a major landmark. Even if I can't show you Rice Hall itself, I can damn well show you the church. So let's drive over there now and have a look at that. All Saints Church is not all that old, but Rise has had a church since at least 1221. In the 19th century, the predecessor to this building was demolished and replaced with the church we see today. It too was dedicated to All Saints, although previously carried a dedication to St Mary. The old church was much smaller, and it didn't have the tall, elaborate tower that this one does. Instead, it was a small chapel with a short, stumpy tower containing its bells. The new church was built by none other than Richard Bethell to designs by R.D. Chantrell. According to a plaque in the porch, the first stone of this building was laid on the 1st of July 1844. The church was then consecrated on the 12th of November 1845. Some 12th to 14th century stonework from the original church was reused in the building. On the other side of the churchyard there's a small track which leads to the estate office, which is the former rectory. It goes by the name of Rise Park. Okay, so if you come out of that little track where the estate office is and you look across this field, you can see some more houses which belong to Rise. In the very far distance you can see like a row of 4. There's one just to the right of that and one just to the left of that as well, and they're all part of Rise as well. And you can tell that they're part of the village because they're all in that same uniform style that we find in estate villages. When we find one cottage in an estate village that looks the way it does, you usually tend to find there's a few others as well. It's no exception is Rise, definitely estate cottages built for estate workers, obviously. Okay, that's really it. There's nothing much more I can film here in Rise, quite frankly, because most of it is off limits. So yeah, unfortunately a very short and sweet one, but hopefully I've done a good job of it considering the fact that I'm kind of limited as to what I can do. Time for me to move on to my next one here in the East Riding of Yorkshire. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and this has been the Parish of Rise, and I'm out.